I'm Noel Rabinowitz, and this is Make Boomboxes. First of all, by a show of hands, who here has ever heard of Make Boomboxes? Okay, so like half the house here are the stalwarts here in the circuit launch world. And the other folks, what made you want to sit here and listen, aside from getting out of the crowd? Why do you care about boomboxes?
I just was out there and I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Do I want to make a boombox? Then I walked around the corner and I was like, what's happening over here? It's like, oh, look, somebody's giving a presentation on it. I might as well sit down. So that's how I got here.
All right, everybody. That's an awesome story. Awesome story. Anybody else? How did you get here today? And how'd you like your lunch? No stories? You love it? Okay. Well, I will tell you, Make Boomboxes has been my 6-year prototyping passion project. What you see before you is called the Mojo Festo. Don't know why. Because it gives you mojo and it makes you want to have a festive experience. It is a DIY kit, which you can make yourself. It's laser cut right here at Circuit Launch while I'm kind of in the small scale production. I haven't crossed over into larger scale production. I can do it right here, which is one of the great benefits of being at Circuit Launch. One of the things you'll notice about the Make Boomboxes box, I'm just gonna kind of talk about what it is, how it's put together, and maybe what you could do with it if you felt like playing around with a do-it-yourself boombox that you can modify, repair, upgrade. It's a hackable boombox, completely 100% hackable. So does that sound like a good plan? I'll just kind of describe what it is, how it's put together, and what you can do with it. And then what you can find online. Straightforward. So you notice a lot of screws. A lot of people are like, why does this thing have so many screws in it? And if you get the kit, you'll notice there's like 4 bags and each of them have a lot of screws in them that come into parts. Well, that's because the entire thing, more or less, is disassemblable. This is the least common denominator of the boombox chassis. And this part is all glued together. I came into the idea of building musical instruments by way of building guitars when I was in college. I built 4 guitars by hand. It's part of and I can play them, but not well. And one of the things that I love about guitar building is just having your hands on the wood and how the glue binds the wood grain together, almost stronger than the original wood itself. And also the fact that tone woods that you'll find in a guitar or a fine musical instrument, they're an intrinsic part of both the construct, the strength of the box, but also its sound. And like these plasticky things, these little speakers that are, first of all, have no personality. They do not remind anyone of, art or music or the creative spirit of the wonderful, creations that we play through them. We love our music. I love music so much. It's been a part of my life forever. And when I wanted to get a boombox that harkens back to that experience and makes people want to listen to music together, out loud, in real places, talking about music, feeling music out loud together, not just being in your headphones, I couldn't find anything that was suitable or readily available in the market. And that brought me back to the idea that I had this dream one day I would invent a musical instrument. So having built guitars, I took the engineering and the knowledge of how wood works and put it into this construct after much trial and tribulation. So what you have is basically laser cut front, sort of a puzzle piece fits together, make these really strong corners. And I'm just gonna pass this around. So you can kind of flex it and feel that aside from the flex in the top and the sides, which completely ends when you put the top and the sides on it, that removes the flex. Here, you take a feel for that. That's the strongest and most lightweight thing that I've ever felt, as a construct for a box. Have you guys ever thought about how a guitar works? I'm gonna digress for 1 second. The guitar has hundreds of pounds of pressure from the strings. When you tighten up the strings to get them up to speed, get them up to their right tone, it's a couple hundred pounds of pressure that's pulling the neck forward. Well, there's a brace inside the neck made out of metal called a truss rod that keeps the neck from bowing up too far. But there's also all this bracing underneath the soundboard and bracing in the sides and the back of the box. But not too much bracing, because it's a balance between, you could say it's a balance between stability and freedom, let's say. Too much stability, it loses its freedom to vibrate. Too much freedom, it loses its stability, it will tear itself apart. So that's really the key that I brought into this design, and that's what I was listening for was, sounds like this. You bang on a guitar, you're gonna hear sounds like that. What's actually happening in the guitar is that all of the surfaces are participating in the sound. And this is something you will never get in an acoustic modeling program where they tell you what size box to build, because the model assumes an infinite rigidity of the walls. It assumes solid walls that don't vibrate, that don't participate in the sound. And once you do that, you can easily make a computer model, and if you buy speakers, you can guess what size box you should put in with what speaker, and you'll know immediately what resonant frequencies you'll get. But you have to throw all that out the window when you build a real living sort of organism of a box like this. And that's why I've been prototyping for 6 years, because 1, I don't know the math, and 2, I don't think the programs are out there to model this in advance. So I just kind of had to build it, and my process of building it each time was, make a change that I think might improve it, and then listen to my playlist called Soundcheck Playlist with 100 of my favorite songs, and if it improves the sound in a specific way that I can understand, I'll incorporate that change. If it makes it sound worse, I'll back that change out. And that's kind of how the prototyping worked. Back to the design itself, lots of screws because you can completely strip it down to the chassis. And you'll notice in this model, this is the sort of the production kit model, we have these areas here where you can remove the panel. You shouldn't worry about drilling a hole in your boombox if you want to put a fog machine in there, you want to put a laser light show. I don't know, maybe you want a taco warmer in your boombox. I have no idea what you want to put in there, but I want to make it expandable so that you can. And that's what these openings are for. Any questions so far about why this boombox is this way?
Stuff that you have. Describe what you have in the back, because you show the back.
Oh, yes.
And then those notes. Yeah,
so the trick with the box is to get it to have the most bass that you can have, the most bass sound. And people love their bass. That's the part that moves your body, it shakes your booty, it makes you feel good. And that's, especially the contemporary, audio consumer will not buy any product that, has weak bass. So that's really been the biggest part of the effort, to make strong bass that's clear, not just loud. Is musical, that's crisp, and is expressive. Very hard to do, and I learned a few things along the way. A traditional speaker design will use what's called a tuned port. You guys ever seen a speaker with kind of like a hole in it? Anybody know what that hole is for? Can you sum it up? Let me throw him the mic for a second. This guy wants to tell us because oh, okay, but they can't hear it on the stream. Thank you.
I'm a musician, so I spend a lot of time around audio and whatnot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Those portholes are supposed to help focus the low, medium-low frequencies out of the speaker by letting the air flow. So basically, it lets the speaker move more. Whereas if you had it trapped, it wouldn't be able to vibrate fully.
The key is that it's like a Helmholtz resonance, like when you blow on a glass bottle, toot toot. Obviously, there's a relationship between the size of that opening and the pitch that it makes. So those are tuned to allow a certain range of sound through, but nothing higher. And then here's the magic. What happens is when that low frequency sound is let out, it's half of a wavelength distant from the front of the box. So that when the low sound is coming out of the back, by the time it reaches the front, it's now going to constructively interfere with the next wavelength that's coming out. So that adds bass. If you have it at the wrong distance, you can let out all the bass you want, but it's going to cancel itself out. So that's really a lot of the secret of designing these speakers, is the location of the drivers, the location of the tuned port if you have one, and the size of the tuned port, how much air it's letting out at what frequency. So there's a lot going on, and I kind of I hit a wall with tuned ports because it was adding weight and complexity, and it just wasn't sounding good. Then I started learning to land the plane. I learned about this thing called a passive radiator. A passive radiator is the same principle, but it's a moving diaphragm that is tuned to a lower frequency. And most boxes now, like even those small speakers, the small Bluetooth speakers that you buy, they'll have a passive radiator in it which serves the same function. So I thought to myself, those passive radiators are highly engineered. They're basically like an extra speaker. They add weight, they add cost, they add design challenges. So I said, what if I can take an inspiration from a guitar in which the entire body of the guitar acts as a passive radiator, because it's a large surface area deflecting very slightly instead of a small surface area moving like a piston in a typical passive radiator. So I tried many different ways to bring the back, which is the biggest, most obvious area to work with, to bring the vibrations of the back under control so that it moves elastically and I can control its resonant frequency, which, any guitar maker, the first thing they'll do is tap on the back of a guitar, they'll tap on the soundboard. And this kind of, I can tell you this is where you want it. And the way I accomplished that was through this laser cut. It's actually takes its inspiration from the F hole on a cello or a violin or a bass cello. And what it does is it kind of breaks up the frequencies that are available to give you a more pleasing curve of the resonances. And these are actually floating on a very aggressive adhesive tape from the back. So I guess if you push hard enough, you could push it through, so don't do that. But the net effect is it gives you really killer bass, which, feel free to come by the booth and listen to it. In all of this, and this is the last thing I'll talk about because I see Mehrdad's here and we started late. Hi, brother, I can't wait to hear your talk. The most fun I've had with this project is when I show up somewhere with the boombox and people who love music, they say, "Did you build this?" And I can say, "Yeah." And that starts a whole conversation about what did you learn, how did you do it? And to me, that was like, if I thought about starting a company or a venture, and I'm still trying to figure that part out, the thing that I think is most valuable that I wanted to share with you, if you want that experience, is so that you can show up and say, yes, I built that. Yes, I can build that. Yes, I understand how that works. And you all here are probably in that same mind frame of creativity and building stuff. But if this is something, if building an instrument or building a speaker or making a modifiable sound platform that carries your personality, if that's something you wanted to do, then this is a good way to do it. And I'll close by showing you on the website, makeboomboxes.com, and we're at Make Boomboxes on social. I open up a tab here. If you click news, it's not really news. I don't know why I put it under news. But there's a blog post when I made the DIY kit assembly guide available. I'm really proud of this, and I think that it makes it possible.
You can.
What's that?
You can be proud of it.
I can be proud, and then I'm going to ask JP if he can describe for a second what it was like to build one, because he built one.
Yes.
The assembly guide comes in 2 parts, and I did a 3D model of the whole boombox down to every last screw that's inside of it. So every turn of every screw is described out here, and every step shows you sort of the before and the after of what you're trying to accomplish with the step, and then also a checklist in which if you can't check them all off, then you didn't finish that step. You better go back and fix it. So it shows literally like gluing the braces, gluing the frame, gluing the sides. I have to update this model because now there's a slight deviation between the production and the kit, so that will be a fun thing to do. And on and on and on. You can see it's really clear, it's really easy to follow, but it's simple, but it's not easy. You know, like it definitely will take you a long weekend from Saturday to the end of Sunday night to finish a box, or you could do it a couple of hours a night for a week or two. It's a really fun project. And
Could you briefly describe how you choose your woods as well? Because
how did I choose the woods?
the woods, because that's very important as well.
The soundboard is made of Tennessee cedar. Typically a guitar soundboard is made out of Sitka spruce is the classic, you know, but there are cedar soundboards. And I took the direction of cedar just based on listening. You know, this is cedar plywood. It's very beautiful. It finishes up really nice, and it's a classic tone wood from a guitar. The sides can be veneered on with any species of wood that you want, pretty much.
Does the varnish help the sound?
I haven't noticed a huge difference of the varnishes on the sound, but I wanted to turn the questions on to JP just for a second. Everybody, give JP a round of applause for a second, because JP, and in the other room, Ed, who's got Zozi, he talks to his articulated robot model, and it talks back, and the speaker it's talking back on is one of these. So I'm grateful to Circuit Launch for so many reasons, but not the least of which was these folks who took a gamble and bought a kit and you know, helped me work out the details.
Yes, that was.
Tell me and share the crowd, like, if you have a juicy moment from the build, or like.
Oh, it was a very relaxing moment. We spent two or 3 days, right?
Yeah.
And then every step of the way was very relaxing. It was very interesting to do. And then naturally with your guidance, because if I had to build that by myself without guidance, you didn't have the guide.
I didn't have the printed guidebook at that time,
but
I needed that experience in order to get to the guidebook.
Yes.
So thank you.
Then it was fun. If I had the money now, I would build another one, but I don't have the money. If you have the money, you can give it to me.
So thank you for that. For inventors and experimenters, you know, dream what you would put in a boombox. I'm gonna put one of Mehrdad's UBO devices inside of it and see if I can make a smarter boombox powered by Raspberry Pi. So watch out, Make Boomboxes and UBO are gonna have a love child here in Circuit Launch. An UBO box.
That's the great thing about
any other questions about this experience or this product, or?
That's a great thing about building open source hardware, because you never know what other people are going to do with it. So it's actually a very versatile way of building hardware.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mehrdad. I'm hoping to figure out a business model for this and make it sustainable. But also, I'm a terrible business person, and you know, I've got to get out of my own way in that regard. So if anyone can think of some business ideas, I'm more than happy to talk to you about that as well. And I think open sourcing the design for this is probably the way to go. It's currently open sourced for non-commercial use. So if anyone wants to just, you know, hack away on it, I'm happy to share the design with you. You know, if you want to laser cut the parts yourself, I'm not going to stop you. I'd love to work with you if you want to do some hybrid or experimental project, if you have an idea of how to expand on this boombox platform. I guess that's it. Thank you for your patience getting started late.
Thanks, Noel.
Thanks, Ren.